As a publicist of over 10 years, I'm going to share my favorite tools that make it very seamless, easy, and way less overwhelming if you are a brand that is looking to get featured in the media. My name is Lydia. I'm the co-founder of Visibility on Purpose, an education platform that helps brands, personal brands, CPG brands, get featured in the media without paying for a publicist. And you might think that's counterintuitive because I am a publicist, but I think there's always a place for brands to start. And we were just annoyed at the fact that there is no middle ground. It's essentially like brands that have no press or don't know how to get featured, or brands with budgets to get featured in the media. And the truth is, it's really not hard. It's just a strategy that helps you get featured. And that's what we're here to share. We're here to share the strategy. So we're going to dive right into it. These are my absolute favorite PR tools that I use every single week as a publicist with my one-on-one brands, but we also teach this inside our DIY course called Pitch Party. I will link it below in case you're interested. But we always recommend making it easier, making it smarter, not harder to pitch. And now with so many tools that are coming out, it's more accessible than ever to connect with the right hosts for podcasts, the right writers at your favorite outlets that align with your brand. Okay, so we're going to start with the newsletters that you can sign up for. It comes directly into your inbox multiple times a day, where you can connect directly with writers and podcast hosts. Now, we have actually interviewed one of the founders, Peter Shankman. He is the founder of Source of Sources and the original founder of Help a Reporter Out, HARO. And I'm going to talk about that one too, but Source of Sources is essentially the same thing as HARO, essentially the same thing, but they do provide the email addresses. So just know that they do provide the email addresses with a mutual trust that you are going to pitch them exactly what they're asking for. And if you don't know what a pitch is, essentially a pitch is when you introduce yourself to a writer or a podcast host with some sort of value to add, with the intention of getting featured on their platforms. So what is Source of Sources? We'll start with this one. So Source of Sources is basically a list of journalists and writers that are directly looking for some specific things. So they'll call out in real time what it is that they're looking for. So say, for example, they're writing a story for Better Homes and Gardens, and they're looking for an interior designer. They will say, I'm writing a seasonal story about, I don't know, best way to dress up your pumpkins for your front porch. Looking for an interior designer to weigh in on this. Where to put what, right? It'll ask for very specific questions. And what I like about Source of Sources, similar to HARO, is it's broken into categories. Now, just remember that people are people at the end of the day. And so we're not always particularly perfect at selecting the right category for the submissions. So just be aware of that. I actually skim the entire thing, but it is broken down into like medical, travel, miscellaneous type of thing. So you can kind of see the chunks of where your brand would be a fit, and you can go through that. Right now, if you're a CPG brand, I think it's really essential to get on any of these newsletters because they're going to do a lot of call outs for holiday gift guides. Now, if you don't know what a holiday gift guide is, essentially it's when people type in like, best gift for mom, right? And because it's the holiday season, a lot of magazines will be picking up this kind of story and posting actually many of these stories. So you definitely want to get on these platforms. I would say this is gold and essential. The next up is HARO, Help a Reporter Out. This one has been around for a long time. Peter Shankman started it. Then it was, I believe, purchased by Cision, and now it is purchased back from the owner of Featured. We'll talk about that one next. But Help a Reporter Out is the same type of vibe. It's a newsletter. It comes into your inbox 3 times a day, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and one at night. And these writers are calling out exactly what it is that they're looking for. The way that I like to scan HARO and Source of Sources is I know the types of publications that I want my brands to be in. And so, if I were you, I would think about all the publications that my brand is a fit for. And then I would kind of scan through that newsletter that way, knowing that the categories might not be perfect, because there have been times where I would say, like, a inquiry would better be a fit for like a wellness or yeah, like a wellness section, but it's in medical. And so I would not have looked in there. And so just being mindful of the way that people submit things, and it might not be perfect. And so I would rather track the publications and see like which publications I'm interested in and see what it is that the writer is looking for. It also helps me get like keep a pulse on what is happening in the media, because if these writers are calling out these very specific things they're looking for, odds are they already were approved for the story. So they are looking for those things that are going to be run in the magazines. And it kind of is like a little inside scoop on what's happening in the media right now. Okay, next up is Featured. Featured is a platform where you can sign up. You can sign up, actually, if you're a PR professional, you can have multiple brands underneath, which is kind of cool. Or you can just sign up, and you can sign up for the free version where you can put your brand in as a source. And it's very much, I mean, I have seen some product call outs, but it very much works like Qwoted. And if you've been following along with us, you know that we're like the world's biggest Qwoted fan. We're going to talk about Qwoted next, but it's very similar to Qwoted, where writers will again call out specifically what it is that they're looking for, and you can create a profile for your brand. You can click on it, you can submit, and you can connect with the writer right in the platform. So, not the same as HARO and Source of Sources, where you're like emailing them, whereas Featured, and we'll talk about Qwoted next, but you're using the platform directly. So, it kind of reminds me of like if Facebook and LinkedIn created a media platform, it would be sort of kind of like that. Now, all of these have free signups. Some of them are paid versions. So for Featured, if you want more than, I believe you get like 5 a month, 5 submissions, then you would want to sign up for the paid version. Same with Qwoted. I will add links to all of these places so you can go ahead and sign up right away. For Qwoted, if you are a brand or a personal brand that wants to get quoted, featured a lot, and feels like you are a fit for a lot of these submissions, I would highly recommend signing up for the paid version. I personally find it extremely worth it. And so with Qwoted, it's very similar to Featured, but it has a lot more features, I would say, where it also has profiles for writers. You can kind of see like exactly who the inquiry is from. And you can kind of like go back and forth with this writer. Whereas on Featured, to my knowledge, you cannot do that yet, although they have been doing a lot of upgrades to the site. And the owner of Featured is the same owner as HARO. So, Qwoted. I will give you a better description of Qwoted. So, we love Qwoted. It's kind of like a hybrid between a pitching database and a journalist connection tool. We have interviewed 2 team members at Qwoted. I will link that episode below. Highly recommend that you watch that episode, because they give so many insider little nuggets of how to get your brands featured, how to make your profile how to make your profile a little bit more highlighted. And so those tips and tricks are really going to help you. But yeah, Qwoted is a chef's kiss platform. I would say the categories that are best are in entrepreneurship, wellness, spirituality, finance, law, honestly, any industry, a lot of medical, right? Any industry where they need an expert voice, because a lot of the times what ends up happening is writers are writing a story and they need some expert to come in, be quoted, and beef it up and make their and make their article credible. So they're constantly looking for voices. Anybody that has some sort of like specific expertise, Qwoted is for you 100%. Now, if we want to continue down the writer rabbit hole, so we're kind of focusing mostly on writers at the moment, Substack. Substack is something you do not want to sleep on. There are so many There are so many Substacks that are hosted by writers. They have their own personal pages. They tell you exactly what they're looking for. I sign up for writer Substacks all the time. And I think this kind of just like happens as you start pitching your brand a little bit more. You get familiar with the writers and you find out that they are on Substack. But if you are, let's say, for example, reading, I don't know, Vogue, and you really like this one writer and you've noticed that they cover a lot of stories that are similar to your brand, and you're like, gosh, I wish I could just connect with them. I would check and see if they have a Substack. Odds are they probably do. That is like the place where I think writers really let their own personal brands shine because a lot of writers are becoming freelancers. Things in the media are changing and their teams are becoming smaller. And therefore, there's a lot of freelance writers that pitch to many publications. So, kind of like the way that we pitch to them, they're also pitching to publications to get their stories featured and landed, right? So, I actually love working with a lot of freelancers because freelancers typically have like a category that they really love to cover. So, for example, if I have a client that's in the wellness category and we connect with a freelance writer with a cool idea, they have a little bit more bandwidth on what they can pitch to publications because they're not necessarily like on the team and being assigned things. Like they are the ones that get to pitch stories. So they're kind of like on board with brands and publicists with different story angles. And I love that they pitch to lots of publications because odds are if they're I don't know, in the wellness category, they probably are writing for like Mind Body Green, Well and Good. Maybe they're writing for Bustle in the wellness category. And so all of those publications are fantastic. If you like connect with this writer really well, you might be able to land a story on Bustle and then next month you land another story on Well and Good. So I love freelancers. I think it's definitely worth it to connect with them and engage on their Substacks. Okay, we're getting into podcast territory. So, Listen Notes is our absolute favorite tool when it comes to looking up podcasts. The way that use Listen Notes is a little bit different than a lot of other publicists. When I speak to them, I'm like, oh, we do this a little different. So, Listen Notes is essentially a database where you can type in any name, any category, any keyword, and a bunch of shows will come out underneath. So what I tell our clients is when you are thinking about your brand, who are other brands that you want to align with, or maybe like competitors? Think of a list of those people. And then I want you to type into Listen Notes their names. You're going to see a bunch of shows pop up. Odds are, if you think that you align with their business, the shows that they're on are probably a good fit for you too. So I kind of use it as like a little like stalking tool to see where others have been featured. So I hope that makes sense. These are my absolute favorite tools. I'm going to list them again. I use these every single day, every single week. I hope this really helps you. These tools are a great way to work also a lot faster and get back our time. And as we know, as founders or team members, we are just wanting to find easier ways to do things and get our time back. Okay, so I first said source of sources. Then I said HARO, help a reporter out, featured.com, Qwoted.com, Substack, which are newsletters and kind of like personal blogs. Kind of reminds me of Tumblr. I probably should have said this before, but anyway. And finally, for podcasts, Listen Notes. Each one of these has a sweet spot of how you can use them. It also depends on what your brand is and the type of visibility you're looking for. If you use these tools, please let us know. We are so excited for you to get featured. And as always, once you get some features, please tag us, comment. We are so excited for you.